Hey everyone, thank you so much for 50k subscribers. Definitely a pretty cool goal to get. I know I've been kind of reaching for 100k now, so it's good to be halfway to that silver play button, and just a good goal in general. So I picked out a decent amount of questions to answer. Most of them are rhythm game related, but the very first one I want to get out of the way is my opinion on Friday Night Funkin'. So like I said, I don't like the game at all. I don't find it fun. It's a little charming, sure, but that charm wore off from me within minutes. So I have no reason to make any other videos about it or gameplay footage, this and that. I've done my piece, I've said my piece, so I kind of just want to leave it at that. Retromaniac asks, any tips for getting rid of rhythm game rust when you go back to a game after a break? The biggest mistake people end up making when they come back from a rhythm game break, especially a really long one, is that they try playing at their peak skill level, or they think they're going to reach that level pretty quickly. And that can happen to some people, but it's very rare. Like, it highly depends on the person and how their fast twitch muscles respond. It can take a while for people to get back to their old level because it just takes them a while to warm their muscles back up or gain that muscle memory and muscle back. But for other people, it can take, like I said, it could take anywhere from a few weeks to even a few months. And it also depends on the length of the break. Like, if you took a month off, it probably won't take you as long, but if you took like 4 or 5 months off, then yeah, you're definitely gonna have to work your way back up. Don't be discouraged if you're playing poorly. That's pretty much what's going to happen regardless. So just stay patient, work your way up, set goals that are within your current skill level, and then just slowly work your way back up. Xavier Medina asks, are you a righty or a lefty? Which hand do you use? So I'd like to think myself as cross-handed, not to be confused with ambidextrous, because I am definitely not even with both hands. Some things I can do very strongly lefty, and some things I can do with my right hand. Most day-to-day tasks I end up doing with my right hand, whether it's brushing my teeth or eating cereal or food. But for sports, I don't know, I always end up doing them lefty. Like for golf, I'm a lefty, for baseball, I'm a lefty. But then for soccer, I would actually kick better with my right foot. Your boy Jake asks, when did you run track and what was your favorite event? So I've been running track since 8th grade, I believe, but I didn't really start taking it too seriously around until around my sophomore year, I'd say. And then I've been running since then. So I've been running for about 4 or 5, about like 8 or 9 years. And as for my favorite event, the 800 has always been, it always holds a special spot in my heart. It's probably the most fun event to run in my opinion, but I guess the mile is a close second, and then 5K is probably third. Maybe steeplechase, I don't know. I like a lot of those mid-distance events. Anywhere from 800 to 5K, I enjoy a lot. And then when you start to get longer is when, I don't know, I start to get bored, if anything. Like, I can't focus for that long, which is kind of why I struggle at those distances, despite being more or less, I guess, built for those distances. Premium Inc. asks, why do you dislike J.H. Lee? It's obvious there's some history us new guys are missing out on, and I am genuinely curious. So this stuff dates back to when I was in like high school. I think I was still in high school when most of this stuff was going on. Maybe a little bit of like freshman or sophomore year of college. I don't know, because I still wasn't really a fan of him at the time. But other than that, you know, I don't really care nowadays. It's been so long now. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know how to pronounce it. How did you get introduced to rhythm games? I got introduced to rhythm games through Dance Dance Revolution. It was a DDR Extreme machine at one of my local amusement parks, and I remember I was playing in flip-flops. I had to weigh like 50 pounds or something like that. I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I walked up to the machine, played Graduation on beginner, and I kind of remember more or less like just, I was bawling my eyes out because I couldn't believe I failed. Like, I was so confident I could play that game well. And I think I ran to my mom crying because I failed out. And then I'd keep coming back like every weekend to play, and then eventually I got my own home pad and played a lot of DDR Max 2, which eventually transitioned into DDR Supernova, got my own home pad, and then the rest is history. Mr. Puff Puff asks, why did you pick Eterna over other games? So for those who don't know, Eterna is a fork of Stepmania. So I've been playing Stepmania since around 2006, I believe. So since I was like 8 years old. So obviously there's some degree of bias there, given I grew up with the game, but as I even play more and more rhythm games that I thoroughly enjoy, I still kind of see Eterna as just one of my favorites, or my ultimate favorite. I love the amount of versatility, whether it's the music or the different types of charts, the charting styles. There's a lot of nuance in Eterna that a lot of people don't appreciate because it's not super accessible in terms of like user interface. At the moment, there are a lot of changes being currently worked on in that regard, but yeah, I think there's just a lot of depth and detail and just variety that kind of keeps me playing, even despite the very small player base. D1 SML asks, would you put pausing in the same category as a spammed or ghosted FC in Guitar Hero? So I believe they're both unfair in their own way, and they both have their own fix. Pausing just simply being like, don't allow people to pause, or just disqualify it if you are doing it in a ranked or competitive setting. And as far as spamming or ghosting goes, I know Guitar Hero 2 Deluxe is currently being worked on, so I mean, maybe that's going to be the gold standard in terms of like fair FCs. But other than that, I can't see the Clone Hero engine being optimized, or not optimized, I guess, but fixed to that degree where spamming and ghosting are no more, because a big part of the game a big part of the marketability of the game is that you can do ridiculous stuff on it. So I don't know if Clone Hero will ever change, but I think Guitar Hero 2 Deluxe is definitely going to be an outlet for people who want to have a more fair and leveled playing field. Diggy asks, when are you going to start doing interviews with Bimani players? So I actually did do an interview or a podcast with Chris Trike, or I Am Chris for Life. This was back when I didn't have a lot of experience in rhythm games back then, and I wasn't as, I guess, more coherent and organized with my takes. But I don't know, I was supposed to be on the SF Evolved podcast, I believe, which is like a DDR podcast, but given my status, or I guess my reputation in the DDR community now, I don't know if that's going to be happening anytime soon. Tagarung asks, thoughts on 4 key players who use a ton of manip like Silly Fangirl or JK Zoo? Look, I've said my piece about manipulation in rhythm games. It's pretty much like, it's just such a messy type of play and doesn't teach actual rhythm game fundamentals. At this point, I don't care if players do it. Eterna, like, the calculator on that game is always, or I guess I should say the scoring system is always trying to work around and punish messier scores, although like you can only do it to a certain point where people are able to manip while getting decent accuracy. But it seems like most of them are doing it on Osamania anyways, so honestly I don't care for the most part. They can do what they want. I don't think it's a good example to set for players who are looking to develop good fundamentals and kind of have a healthy longevity in their play style. So yeah, I guess my answer is I just don't care at this point. I don't find it that particularly impressive or entertaining, so they can do what they do. I'm gonna preach what I think is proper play in 4 keys, so take that for what you will. Hayden Roblox 23 asks, how far do you run per week and what are your running goals? Oh, and will you ever run a marathon? In my peak shape, I'll run around 60 to 65 miles just so I have a really good aerobic base to work off of. And I usually just feel really fit at that time. Like everything's just clicking. My workouts are good. Long runs feel good. So when I try going past that, like 70, 75, that's when kind of injury risk starts to play a role for me personally. It also depends on the event I'm training for. Like if I'm an 800, 1500 guy, I'll probably run 50, 55 miles max. But if I'm doing like 3K steeple or 5K or even 10K work, I'll probably be around the 65 to 70 mile zone if I want to try and build a good base before I start lowering it to get more quality out of my races. In terms of a marathon, yes, I 100% do want to run one, and I want to qualify for Boston, which I believe for my age group is like, it's like just under 3 hours. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do after this surgery, like what I'm going to train for. I think the biggest goal right now for me is to just get back in shape in general, because I can really only hobby jog at the moment. So yeah, well, I guess we'll see what happens down the line. Galactic Fluff asks, what's your opinion on copyright infringing fan works like simulators and emulators or charting songs unlicensed? So this is a good question because I don't understand the legality of them fully. I know there's a huge gray area, but I have always said community-made rhythm games, on average, tend to come out better than licensed ones. And it's not even because of the content they're able to create, like song usage or whatever. They just end up being better built. Like there's a lot more passion and love behind them. It doesn't come out, it's not like overly organized or focused on aesthetics. And like I said, it's not like super robotic or anything, I guess is the term. Like it feels like I'm playing a rhythm game made by people who know what rhythm games are. As far as charting songs unlicensed goes, traditionally for what I've seen, a lot of artists like get a decent amount of more fans through charting those songs unlicensed because, you would have never heard them before if it weren't for them getting popular in a rhythm game. But obviously I understand the legality of charting stuff that isn't technically yours. Again, there's a huge gray area behind all of that. I'm not a lawyer. I don't understand it that well. All I know is that for the most part, it ends up very positive on both sides. Got another running question from Liam O'Leary, who asks, do you ever compete for running? If so, what events and times? Would you ever do any more running vids? So I did answer the first question. Yes, I've competed quite a while for running. And as for my times, I'll probably put them up here. I don't remember them all off the bat, at least like to the second. As for running videos, the issue with doing those at the moment, and that I've been kind of contemplating, is that copyright is going to be a huge issue. It's kind of funny because I'm bouncing off a copyright question, but the strictness of those copyright claims are pretty jarring, so it's not like I can really work around them, especially if they're very crucial to the video, like it were for my 3K steeplechase video, where the current world record video got a visual claim, so not a audio claim or anything like that. Like if you just use the video even and commentate over it and transform it, you can actually still get a copyright claim. Like people can own the rights to that, which I find is a little silly, a little too much, but I don't know, maybe I'll still make them just out of passion for the sport. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Multi-Kill Studios asks, what's your biggest hurdle in regards to your work on YouTube or content creation in general? For me, it was just to keep going. Like there were definitely bouts where I had a lot of doubt in what I was doing. Like I didn't know if I was really going to grow that much more when I was even growing at one point. I think the biggest heartbreaker at first was my Through the Fire and Flames video that only got like 4K views for the longest time, and then it didn't really grow, it just stopped. But I told myself, hey, like, you know, not everyone's first video is a banger, just make another one, which was the Solus 4 video, and then that was kind of what kickstarted my YouTube career. TKO asks, have you ever tried listening to metal? This is a pretty funny question, actually, because I'm a big metalhead. Granted, I haven't been listening to metal as much. I'm more on the rock side right now, but I appreciate a very good bit of metal. In terms of like heavier stuff, I guess I enjoy like Cattle Decapitation, a little bit Infinite Annihilator, some Cannibal Corpse, Shadow of Intent, Black Dahlia Murder, stuff like that I'll listen to here and there if I'm really in the mood for it. But I guess I haven't explored it as much as I should. Maybe I will down the line. I've tried like more intense stuff that's not really my zone, like Pig Destroyer even, if we want to go old school. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely do listen to metal. I love metal. And I guess I'll continue to explore it. Woke as Jay asks, looking at your channel, have you ever thought of deciding to stop making high quality documentary videos about rhythm games and start making those shitpost no quality videos that get into recommendations like what Hurricane does? If not, does it stress you out that the hard work you do is mostly wasted by averaging 5K or 15K views, that your passion on doing these things makes you want to stop and quit YouTube? This is a very intense question, but I appreciate it nonetheless. So the thing is, if I were to conform to that type of content, I would be going against what I'm trying to change about YouTube. I get that I can't change the YouTube algorithm, but I at least want to make a statement that you can keep doing what you want to do as long as you do it well enough, and eventually it'll pay off. I get that that sounds kind of cliche, but I've been very stubborn with the type of content I make. I've been keep making rhythm game documentaries, even for ones that don't take off. I'm just going to continue to do them because I do them for myself. Like most of it is what I do them for myself, and obviously this was my source of income, so you know I want them to do well too. But I guess my pride is getting myself it's getting in my way because I want to keep doing documentaries. That's my specialty. That's what I like doing the most. So I will do shit posts here and there, but I understand how dangerous they can be in terms of transforming your audience. So I don't want to do them that much because I know how harmful they can be to a channel's audience. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm going to keep making documentaries. It's not going to make me quit YouTube. I'm going to keep doing what I do and keep my, you know, pedal to the metal. And yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. Mammodocalypse asks, what is your favorite Clone Hero FC? Probably Sleigh Bells by Gammo. It's so unconventional, so wacky. I love every bit of it. Probably his Cry for Eternity FC too, so any FC by him is just very entertaining. Camilla asks, why do you always say anything below a great judgment shouldn't be considered for combo? It just takes away the, I guess, integrity of what an FC constitutes, like a full combo. If a good gives a combo, or even a bad like in Quaver gives a combo, you know, what does an FC mean at that point? Did you hit all the notes, or did you kind of hit all the notes? Like you just mashed all in between, especially with DDR, like how people can just bracket certain sections and get away with it. So that's kind of why I say it. It just diminishes the accomplishment or the impressiveness of what an FC is. Like, an FC is supposed to be really cool to get, but in those games, it just comes off really lame now. I get DDR in particular isn't really constituted, or I guess isn't centralized around FCs. It's more AAAs, but still, it's kind of lame that goods give combo, and I would prefer it if they didn't. Default username asks, what type of content do you normally find yourself watching? I watch a lot of weightlifting, or I guess like strength sports, like powerlifting, weightlifting, strongman. Like, I kind of juggle those around. Right now with the pandemic, it's not as prevalent, or at least for some sports, because of COVID, but hopefully those things will clear up, and I'm really excited to see what those have in the future. As for rhythm game content, I follow a lot of underground players. Like, I like following players, if anything. In terms of rhythm game content creators, like people who don't really, they just kind of make content about rhythm games, I don't know. I don't really find myself entertained by a lot of them, I guess, personality-wise. So if I am sub to you, you're definitely doing your job right in my eyes, and I find you to be very, very entertaining for the genre. So kudos to you on that. Lord Milo asks, what's your proudest achievement in rhythm game history? Oh, geez. I don't know. I have no idea how to answer that. Probably one of my Eterna FCs that I worked really hard for. Anything that I've popped off really hard for is definitely up there. So if you've seen those types of videos, I'll probably put up a couple reactions here. Those are definitely up there. In terms of other rhythm games, I can't really think of anything else. All of them are probably Eterna related. Sleepy asks, which drugs have you tried? I've said this on stream before, I'm straight edge. I don't drink. I've never smoked either. I just never had an interest in that stuff, and I just don't think it's good for my health. Mostly just because it's not in my personality to do so. Oh, great. The next question by Call Me Gabriel is Etienne virgin? Yes. I'm not going to try and pronounce it. It's like Uvekta Raka Yudhishthira. Any plans? He asks, any plans for trying out mobile rhythm games? So I have played a decent amount of mobile rhythm games in the past. I've played Citus, I played a lot of Reflect Beat, played a little bit of U-Beat, and I've played Muse Dash, but only on the PC. I haven't played the mobile version, but I have played a decent amount of mobile rhythm games. As for trying more out in the future, maybe if I can get a charger for my iPad 2. It's a really old iPad, but it gets the job done. You don't need anything crazy to run rhythm games on an iPad as long as you're on the right iOS. But yeah, I do plan on trying more rhythm games as soon as I can get a charger for that iPad, because from what I've heard, there's definitely a good amount of mobile rhythm games I'm missing out on. Zane asks, what non-rhythm games do you play? Recently, I've been on a Teamfight Tactics binge, and then I play a bit of Melee too. I want to try and get plat on TFT. I really do think I can. I got gold 3 in the last season, and I had only been playing the game for like a month and a half at the time. So I think with how much time I have now in this season, I'm looking to get plat. Maybe I'll even go a bit higher if I do learn enough about the game. We'll see how much I nerd out. And as for Melee, I noticed I've been making some decent improvements too. My tech skill is a little more consistent. I'm making better decisions. I'm getting better reads. So I'd like to enter a Melee tournament soon too. Maybe I'll join Smash at... I think Smash at Xanadu's still doing the online tournament. So maybe I'll join one of those, honestly. Nintails asks, what is your favorite band or artist you found from playing rhythm games? I can't remember what pack it was in, but it was very recently. Someone charted Aloe Light by Good Kid, and I have been absolutely obsessed with them lately. I've had a lot of their songs that are in my top songs of like the month or in the last 6 months even. They don't have a ton of material out right now, but I would highly suggest listening to them. Super solid and tasteful rock band, and like I said, go check them out. In terms of other artists, like in the past, I guess Flesh God Apocalypse is another popular one, but I haven't been listening to them as much as I should be, so maybe I'll check out their last few albums because I've heard they're phenomenal. There's probably some other ones that I'll probably list down below if I can remember them, so go check those out too. Ampersand64 asks, what's your take on combo skilled scoring? Is it a fair mechanic, and does it invalidate scoring? I think combo scoring, especially as egregious it can be for rhythm games, is a horrible concept. It just takes away so many other skill sets and just fundamentals from rhythm games. It weighs misses far too much, like so much that any other type of score becomes practically useless, especially if you miss in the middle of the song or have misses sprinkled throughout, as opposed to missing a bunch of times near the end. And I get a game like Osu does weigh certain sections of songs, which I also kind of disagree with, because it just makes things way too grindy then. And it just doesn't, like I said, it doesn't represent scores as, like, you would think it would represent scores better in a way, but I still don't think it's a proper approach because it takes away more patient skill sets then. Like, it basically only incentivizes players to just be these fast brute force players who can do only hard sections. And Mafnia asks, what are your favorite albums? With that Carly Rae Jepsen shirt, you probably have some interesting taste. So I'm pretty bad with names or album names, so I'm just going to kind of look over real quick. Obviously, Origami Somewhere City is my favorite album by far. Schmaltz by Spanish Love Songs. I would probably say recently Mothership by Dance Gavin Dance. I think it's their most consistent album by far. TK Mazda record last year, or the EP last year, was Weird Volume 2. Bangers from front to back and has one of my favorite songs of all time, which is You Sad. And I think I said this last year, Makari's Hyperreal is up there too. And then I'll throw one last one out there for a different genre. Dorian Electra's Flamboyant. Hugely just bombastic and punchy album from front to back, super fun to listen to, and just a very solid music overall. And as for the last question by Fluxuser, they ask, will we see new Rhythm Game Anomalies videos? Yes, 100%, but they won't come out that often. I usually like to make one, or usually like 2 every year, I would say. So maybe I'll start working on one soon. I just don't know which player yet. I have some ideas. Like I said, I always have ideas. It's just the process of how I want to articulate things. Like there's a big outline I usually try to fill out before I can even think about if it's doable to make one to begin with. But I have some players in mind that will most likely fit the criteria, so be on the lookout for that. One should be coming in a few months, and if it doesn't, it'll probably just take me a little longer. That's all the questions for the 50K Q&A. Thank you all so much for the support. Thank you all so much for the questions, and that's where I'm going to end the video. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you'd like to support the channel for more content like this, feel free to go over to my Patreon, become a patron of the channel, and drop a sub while you're here too. I'll see you on whatever video I upload next, and take care.